From the windswept shores of the British Isles to the far corners of the globe, the British Empire once held sway over a quarter of the Earth's landmass. For centuries, the sun never set on this vast dominion, but as with all empires, its reign was not to last. Welcome to our deep dive into the downfall of the British Empire. From economic struggles to nationalist movements, we'll explore the key events that led to the collapse of one of history's most powerful empires. The year is 1918. The guns of the Great War have fallen silent, but victory rings hollow for Great Britain. The cost of victory in lives lost and treasures spent is staggering. The once mighty British Lion, scarred and weary, emerges from the conflict financially drained, its industrial dominance challenged by a rising America.
In Ireland, the embers of rebellion, smouldering for centuries, ignite into the flames of the Irish War of Independence. The fighting is fierce and brutal, a microcosm of the larger struggle for freedom brewing across the empire.
The Irish Free State's independence in 1922, while a significant blow to British prestige, serves as a stark warning. The empire is no longer invincible. The old order is crumbling, and the fight for freedom has just begun. The empire finds itself at a crossroads. The old ways of absolute rule no longer hold sway in a world clamoring for self-determination. The struggle for independence in Ireland is a harbinger of things to come. The cost of maintaining its vast empire, coupled with the growing desire for independence amongst its subjects, presents a challenge of immense proportions. The empire must adapt or face disintegration. The 1920s roar with a fragile prosperity, a deceptive calm before the storm. The empire, still reeling from the Great War, grapples with rising unemployment and declining industrial output. The old certainties of economic dominance are fading, replaced by uncertainty and doubt. The Wall Street crash of 1929 sends shockwaves across the globe, plunging the world into the Great Depression. The empire, already weakened, is hit hard. Trade collapses, unemployment skyrockets, and social unrest festers in the colonies, further fueling the flames of anti-colonial sentiment.
In India, Mahatma Gandhi emerges as a powerful voice for independence, mobilizing millions in non-violent resistance against British rule. His message of peaceful protest resonates across the empire, inspiring others to challenge the legitimacy of British rule.
The empire's response to the Depression is a mixture of half-hearted measures and a stubborn clinging to the old order. Austerity measures, designed to cut costs, further alienate the colonial populations who bear the brunt of the economic hardship. The writing is on the wall. The empire can no longer rely on its economic might to maintain control. The old methods of coercion and exploitation are losing their effectiveness in the face of growing resistance. In 1939, the world plunges once more into the abyss of war. Great Britain, though victorious in the end, emerges from the conflict a shadow of its former self. The empire, battered and exhausted, has spent its last reserves of strength in the fight against fascism. The war irrevocably alters the global balance of power. The United States and the Soviet Union emerge as superpowers, their economies and militaries dwarfing a diminished Britain. The empire, once a global hegemon, finds itself relegated to a supporting role on the world stage. The war also unleashes powerful forces of nationalism and decolonization. Across Asia and Africa, colonies that contributed soldiers and resources to the war effort demand their rightful place in the post-war world. The demand for freedom, once a whisper, becomes a roar that can no longer be ignored. The empire, morally and financially bankrupt, is ill-equipped to resist the tide of history. The old arguments for imperialism ring hollow in the face of widespread devastation and the rise of new ideologies. The war, fought to preserve freedom and democracy, ironically hastens the empire's demise. It exposes the hypocrisy of an empire built on subjugation and exploitation, accelerating the process of decolonization that will reshape the world. The sun is setting on the British Empire.
It shatters the illusion of British invincibility, signaling to the world that the days of empire are numbered. The partition of the subcontinent into India and Pakistan triggers one of the largest mass migrations in human history, accompanied by widespread violence and bloodshed. The loss of India, the empire's most prized possession, sends shockwaves through the remaining colonies. The war-weary nation, facing economic hardship at home, can no longer justify the cost and burden of maintaining control over a restive India. In 1947, India achieves independence, but the joy is overshadowed by tragedy. Gandhi's philosophy of non-violent resistance, Satyagraha, captures the moral high ground, exposing the brutality of the British Raj to the world. The Labour government, elected in Britain in 1945, recognizes the inevitability of Indian independence. The cries for independence, suppressed for centuries, now echo through the streets of Delhi, Calcutta, and Bombay. The Indian National Congress, led by Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, intensifies its campaign for self-rule. Chapter 4. India, the jewel in the crown of the British Empire, a land of vibrant cultures and immense strategic importance, becomes the focal point of the empire's unraveling.
Chapter 5. In the scorching sands of Egypt, a crisis unfolds that will irrevocably alter Britain's standing on the world stage. The Suez Canal, a vital artery of global trade, becomes a flashpoint for the waning empire's struggle to cling to its diminishing power.
In 1956, Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser nationalizes the Suez Canal, challenging British and French control over this strategic waterway. The move, a bold assertion of Egyptian sovereignty, is met with fury in London and Paris.
Britain, in a desperate attempt to reassert its authority, colludes with France and Israel to invade Egypt and seize control of the canal. The Suez Crisis, a miscalculated gamble, backfires spectacularly. International condemnation of the invasion is swift and fierce.
The United States, a rising superpower wary of Cold War implications, condemns the action, forcing Britain into a humiliating withdrawal. The Suez Crisis exposes the illusion of British power. The once mighty empire, unable to impose its will without American support, is revealed as a second-tier power, its global influence shattered.
Chapter 6. The winds of change are sweeping across Africa, carrying with them the irresistible yearning for freedom. The year is 1960, and across the continent a new dawn is breaking, heralding the end of colonial rule and the birth of new nations.
In 1957, the Gold Coast becomes the first sub-Saharan African nation to achieve independence, taking the name Ghana. This momentous event, a beacon of hope for millions across the continent, sets off a chain reaction of decolonization.
British Prime Minister Harold Macmillan, in his famous Winds of Change speech, acknowledges the inevitable. The empire, he realizes, cannot resist the tide of history. It is time to embrace a new relationship with former colonies, based on equality and mutual respect.
Across Africa, one by one, British colonies gain independence. Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda all break free from the shackles of colonial rule, eager to chart their own destiny. The process of decolonization is not without its challenges. Some transitions are peaceful, while others are marred by violence and instability.
The legacy of colonialism, with its arbitrarily drawn borders and systems of economic exploitation, continues to cast a long shadow. Chapter 7. The year is 1997. The world watches as a historic handover unfolds in Hong Kong Harbour. After over 150 years under British rule, this vibrant financial hub is returned to China, marking the symbolic end of the British Empire. Hong Kong, a bustling centre of commerce and trade, stands as a testament to the empire's complex legacy. Acquired through a series of treaties with China, Hong Kong's fate has been intertwined with that of the British Empire for generations. The handover agreement, meticulously negotiated between Britain and China, reflects the delicate balance of power in the post-colonial world. China, a rising economic giant, asserts its claim over Hong Kong, while Britain seeks to ensure a smooth transition and safeguard the territory's unique way of life. The ceremony, a poignant blend of British pomp and Chinese tradition, marks the closing chapter of a long and often turbulent relationship. As the Union Jack is lowered for the last time, a sense of history hangs heavy in the air. For Britain, the handover represents the final act in the dismantling of its empire. It is a moment of reflection, a time to come to terms with the legacy of its imperial past and embrace a new role in the world. The British Empire, once a vast dominion upon which the sun never set, has vanished from the map. Its legacy, however, remains etched into the fabric of the world we live in. From language and law to culture and customs, the empire's influence can still be felt in every corner of the globe.
In conclusion, the British Empire collapsed due to economic weakness, nationalist movements, global power shifts, and geopolitical failures. The transition from an empire to the Commonwealth of Nations, a voluntary association of former colonies, reflects a changing world order where dialogue and cooperation replace coercion and domination.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the rise and fall of the British Empire.